Hi, so I've had a few requests by message and comment about what to do when you first join a raiding guild. What are your priorities? So what I'm going to present here are my 5 top tips for what to do when you have joined a new raiding guild. The first one is to know the strategies. Even if you are familiar with the bosses, you are not going to be familiar with the specific ways they do them. If, of course, you're not familiar with some of the bosses, you're joining a guild that's higher progress than you, then you have absolutely got to make sure that you understand the mechanics of those bosses as well. So what you should do is try and find their kill videos, try and follow what's going on, look at guides as well, and then try and work it all out. Maybe look at streams as well, and compile yourself a list of questions. Then what you want to do is try and get an officer onto VoIP, whether you use Mumble or TeamSpeak or Discord or whatever, and go through your list of questions about how they deal with particular fights, and focus, of course, on what your role is going to be. If you're a DPS, don't worry too much about asking questions. Oh, I don't get what that healer's doing at that point. Doesn't really matter, does it? Focus on the things that you need to do so that you can carry out the mechanics properly. 2 is to get the weak auras and add-ons that that guild insists upon. You may well have weak auras, for example, for that particular raid instance, but maybe they have specific ones for specific mechanics that you should get hold of as well. I'd usually find it's probably helpful to get these specific weak auras for that guild if indeed they have a set that they insist on. Certainly get the add-ons they want as well. They may be slightly different. Maybe your previous guild didn't use angry assignments and maybe the new guild did, and that's where they're going to put important notes for things to do at various points during the fight. So make sure you've checked them out. That will usually be on their forum, or it will be listed in the guild info section. If in doubt, make sure you ask the officers, say, are there any add-ons I need other than the ones I've already got? So that make sure that you are set up for that first raid. 3, learn the raid leader's voice. When you are raiding, you are going to be bombarded by jabbering from all sorts of people in that raid. The only voice that matters to you is the raid leader's voice. Just because someone asks for heroism, don't click it. Don't go touching it. You only respond to the raid leader's voice. Yes, of course, some people may from time to time say something helpful, but don't go trying to carry out an instruction that some random has called for if the raid leader specifically has not. Best way to try and learn the raid leader's voice, of course, is to specifically ask them to go onto VoIP with you when you're asking your questions before that first raid. 4 is to focus on mechanics and only mechanics. Too many people worry about what their damage is going to be like. And the upshot of that is going to be that you're going to be focused so much on damage, you might get lucky and mechanics don't bite you in the arse and you don't wipe the raid. But then what happens the next week when you don't get so lucky? It's far better to make sure that you focus 100% on the mechanics. The aim should always be to not wipe the raid and to make sure you do any jobs that you've been assigned to. This is usually a little bit easier because when you first join a raid group, especially when they're doing a boss that is farm for them, you're unlikely to get special duties. You may, it depends on your class. If you have a class that's particularly useful for a technique and they didn't have anyone to do it before, then you may well get that job. But generally speaking, you're probably going to get away with most of the special jobs. So make sure you focus on what you do have to do. All raid leaders and all officers understand that in the first week you're just finding your feet. In the second week, that's when they expect the damage or healing or whatever it is to go up and improve. But as I said, the problem is if you're not focusing totally on the mechanics and making sure you do things correctly the first week, and then maybe you get away with it, maybe you don't, maybe you wipe people, because that's what people remember. People don't remember you doing badly on damage. They do remember, some months after even, if you wiped everyone because you didn't do a thing. So make sure that the second week is when you've got the mechanics down, you've now experienced them all, so now you can start to focus on your own performance as well. And the 5th one is engage but don't annoy. What do I mean by that? You need to talk to the people there. Join Mythic Plus with them or Rated Battlegrounds or whatever it is that they do as well. Make sure you're online. I know it's tempting, especially if you've had to transfer server as well, to go on that couch, to set that character up, but then you go back on your outs and things like that. They're on the previous server and do your normal stuff. Make a point of just trying to be on that character, that main character, even if you're not doing much, just so you're in guild, so you can get to know people, comment on things. And when you're in the raid itself, or when you're joining Mythic Pluses again, talk to people, but don't annoy. Don't be really forceful with your personality. Get the feel of how everyone is first of all. Don't go putting your foot in your mouth. So those are my 5 tips for how to successfully integrate with a new raiding guild. And I know a lot of people are doing that as we come to Tomb of Sargeras. This is typically at the end of a tier. This is the time when people start to evaluate whether they're happy in their own guild. And some people, of course, come to the conclusion no and start to look elsewhere. This should hopefully hold you in good stead, especially for those who are wanting to push to a much higher rate of progress in heroic or mythic raiding guilds. So thanks very much for watching. If you found it useful, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe and share with other people who might find it useful as well. And until next time, I'll see you later.